Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome back to Action and Inertia, a research podcast where each episode we invite our guests to explore human behavior in response to change by giving us their unique and valuable perspective on the topic. I am your host, Kimberly Logan, and today I am so excited to have with me Renee Hoilett-Rose, who's going to talk to us today. Renee, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
It's the greatest of my life.
So if you would set us off by introducing yourself, letting us know what your passion or passions are, and where your subject matter expertise lies.
All right, so my name is Renee Hoilett-Rose. My passion, I am really more recently passionate about humanity, interconnectivity of life as well. So not just, people, but everything. And my subject matter expertise, I would say, would be customer service. I'd say customer service. I've worked in customer service for a long time. And just generally people, interacting with people. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay, thank you so much. So excited to jump into this conversation with you. So just to remind everybody, here at Action and Inertia, we have two goals. So each week we are attempting to first and foremost inspire at least one person to lean into change, to actively lean into change. And our secondary goal is to gather information, right? To create a database of human experience and opinions that can be used as a reference tool for folks moving through or experiencing change. So without further ado, Renee, let's jump right into these questions. So question number one, in the face of change, what motivates a person to choose action or inertia?
This is something we've spoken about, before in many of our long conversations. And I would definitely say self-preservation and fear. I think it's those two things. When someone, as I imagine, or if I imagine myself in a position where change is needed, it's a bit different for me because, the life that we've lived, we've had a lot of changes, we've shifted environments, shifted countries. And so I think in a lot of ways, it may have prepared us for change, like big shifts, but I do think that when it's a less tangible situation, like relationship, emotional, social kind of change, I think people definitely think about themselves and, can I move from this position? Will it be detrimental to me? There is a fear that moving and changing will be worse than what was there before. And so I think people are afraid because they want to preserve the understanding of who they are in that moment. So that's what I think inspires people to act or not.
Oh, wow, yeah, I love that. It's interesting. I think this is the third recorded conversation we've had so far on the topic. And I love that so far there's been such varied opinions and perspectives. And I think that's so interesting that you kind of pinpoint self-preservation, because I, in my own kind of like spiritual study, have been coming a lot across the theme of like evolving through like shedding off your skin, right? Like this constant idea of like shedding what you don't need anymore to make like space or a new skin for what you are trying to like, like welcome into your life or your space.
Yeah.
And it really is this kind of dance that we're all doing. And I say over and over, the basis of this show is really to highlight the sameness of our human experience, though we're having like very unique, like individual ways that that's playing out, so I love that. So anyways, sorry, were you gonna add something?
No, and I agree, and I really relate to the idea of shedding of self, but I think over time it's not just a shedding of the old, but also, to me, letting go of the ideas that we once had and the things that we thought we knew. Because if anything, life has shown me, at least, the things that you think you really don't know. And so there has to be a kind of openness to learning within that movement, within that change. So yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly on the shedding of the skin to renew.
Yeah, self-preservation, that's real. That's what, we've literally been, as human beings for thousands and possibly millions of years, focused on that task biologically and psychologically, right? So question number 2, in terms of holistic wellness, which choice is the most beneficial? And that's looking at your life as a system, like a whole system that's encompassing every possible piece. So in terms of achieving kind of like a holistic wellness, which choice, action or inertia, do you see as most beneficial?
I'm going to say action. However, I do believe they both have their place. I think balance is important. It's important to know when to move and when to not move. And I think sometimes the inertia, the inactivity, indecisiveness might make us feel quite negative. However, I do think that there is a level of assessing the situation as well. So it might not be that inertia is there because I don't want to move forward. It might be, I don't want to move forward yet. Right, is this the moment, right? Because I think timing is important as well. However, back to your question though, I do think change is the more beneficial choice. Because that's just how nature, everything works.
Or action, action.
Action.
Anyway, right?
Yeah, the action. That's how life is. And you can't stop everything from happening. Everything is constantly moving and flowing. And I think action, even sometimes when we don't want to, we're forced into action because that is just the nature of things. So yeah, action.
Yeah, and I love that you highlight the kind of like compassionate side of like leaving space for inertia. Really, I always describe it as like a spectrum within like a single experience, or just in how you approach change in general as like a theme in your life. And just to nerd out for a second, in the show notes, there's some definitions to guide us through the conversations. And inertia is described as an indisposition to motion, exertion, or change. So, right, I love that. And I bring that up because even in the definition, there's space for transformation. It's almost like it exists for that reason, right?
Absolutely.
Like it's just an indisposition, right?
Yeah.
Like,
there is and I think also I don't know if we are just born with the instinct of action all the time. I think like a lot of things, it takes practice, it's practice. How often are you even in a situation where change demands action, how many times do you get to flex that muscle? If you are not actively putting yourself in that, or if you don't lead the kind of life that is in flux constantly, do you even have the opportunity to practice action instead of inertia? You know, so there's different, I guess there's different ways that we could look at it, but I think that's also important.
Yeah, and I think it's important to point out too that being in a state of inertia lends itself to planning for action, right? And that's
Absolutely.
like important too. And I think that I kind of heard that kind of in your answer. I wanted to highlight that. So last question, final question. What traits exist in people who consistently choose action? What are some traits? We could just list them out, you know, in those folks that are constantly leaning into change by taking action.
I think curiosity is a big one. Being adventurous. Also, one we said before, like a heavy feeling of the need to survive, you know, the will and determination to survive by any means. Sometimes being fearful, that could be a trait as well. But I also think people who have the ability to kind of look forward. I don't know if I'm articulating that well, but yeah.
Like an idea of what may happen after the action is taken.
Yes. Yeah. I think
or a belief, maybe a belief.
Yes, there needs to be some kind of belief that what is on the other side of the experience is not only completely different, but better, you know? And I think just pushing for that better day, that better time, that better place, that better situation must be motivating in some way, you know? Like, I've never lived this day before, so let's see what it's going to give to me. I've never been to this place before. How can I, you know, the type of people who try to make the most out of whatever situation they have. Those are some traits, I think.
I love that. Thank you so much. Yeah, I love this conversation. I don't think I have any other questions. Is there anything else you want to add before we sign off? No problem.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I really, really believe in this. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. It definitely sings to my heart in terms of showing people how interconnected we are, showing them that we exist together, like you said, playing our lives out differently, but the experience is so interwoven between us because these are things that we all experience. And we can definitely find some common ground in that way. And I think building this database, but also creating a living and breathing piece of work where people can get involved, you know, independently of this arena, you know, can start their own conversations. It's very inspiring. Even I've been like, oh, let me do a group chat and like get my friends in and talk to them about it. Like, it's making me think, oh, let me bring this to work. You know, like, I wonder what some of my work colleagues would say, and how this question or these 3 questions would affect their decisions, their lives. Would it inspire them? Because I think it helps us to view each other in a completely different way, in a softer way.
Yeah, in a more human way, right? Like
yeah.
We really are sharing something. Like,
yeah, regardless of what our differences may or may not be.
Yeah.
And yeah,
or your subject matter expertise, or your station, or your past, or you know, anything. I love that. Thank you so much for adding that. And please, if you talk to anybody that would like to add to this research, let them know. They can find us at actionandinertia.com. They can email us at actionandinertia@gmail.com. Let us know they would like to be on the show. And eventually, when me and my team, that's me, get the online survey up and popping, they can contribute that way if they're not like for the limelight, you know? So yeah. Thanks so much, Renee. Thank you so much. So grateful for your time and your mind. Thanks again to everybody for watching and listening, wherever you are. Thank you for being here. If you enjoyed this episode and you would like to also contribute to this research, please share this podcast, talk about it, post about it on social media, tell your friends, like Renee just mentioned, leave us a rating or a review, or contact us at actionandinertia@gmail.com or actioninertia.com. Until next time, signing off. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.